Billy Proctor, I think we learned that we found the new All Black centre. This guy has to be given a go in the series versus France. Come on, what have we got to lose?
The Chiefs, once they got a roll going, they were unstoppable. They were outstanding, and Moana just didn't really have it in them.
This entire season of doing the rankings has been pointless then if you decide to just go along with what the table's going to be.
Thank you, Lachlan. Thank you. And that wraps it up, doesn't it? The whole point of this is there is no point.
Welcome to the DSPN.
He's given him. Wow, there you go. He was forward.
Oh, a punch up now in midfield. Fraser's involved.
The Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the podcast, people. Martin Devlin, Lachlan Waugh. Another round of the DSPN. Looking back at Super Rugby, round 15. Tony Johnson from Sky Sport joining us. And then we welcome back Mark Watto Watson. His thoughts on whether the Blues, after such a wretched season, are going to, in fact, clinch that sixth place spot this Saturday afternoon against New South Wales. We've got our Super Rugby rankings as always, and there's a fair few positional changes. I'm actually going to put it to you, this is how the table will look after the final round next weekend. All of that. Thank you so much for supporting us. If you're listening on Rover or wherever you find your favourite podcast, you get the full audio show, one package. We put it out every afternoon, around about 45-50 minutes worth. Here on the DSPN YouTube channel, we slice and dice it into just I suppose, easier to consume little bits and pieces for you. Thank you so much for clicking subscribe. Keep doing it. We need to get to 7,000 subscribers quick as possible, on our way to 10,000. And for everyone who has supported us over the last 25 weeks or so. Most grateful. If you like what you're looking at and what you're listening to, maybe somebody that you know will too. So let them know we're here every single day for you. And start the show every day the same way.
Marty sermons brought to you by WebWonks. Generate online leads with WebWonks. Doctors for your Google data.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
5 things that we've learned after round 15 of Super Rugby. The Reds hold the single best stat in this year's competition. Round 15, 10th minute versus the Hurricanes in Brisbane. The Reds kicked their first penalty of the year. Not just kicked, but even attempted to kick a penalty. What a crazy stat this is. Then they took and they got another one. First half, first penalty goals all season. Previous to that, 20 hours and more of rugby and not one single penalty even attempted. Surely that's a Guinness Book of Rugby records somewhere. Billy Proctor, I think we learned that we found the new All Black centre. This guy has to be given a go in the series versus France. Come on, what have we got to lose? We need to try a new centre. We need to find a World Cup winning midfield combination. Rieko Ioane, for all the good that he brings, and he does bring, has played there long enough, I believe, without ever becoming the world-class player we all thought he would or could be. The guy has attributes, yes, but he's also very limited in his skills at centre. He doesn't have, I believe, the rugby smarts, and by that I mean an overall natural feel for the position, and clearly, demonstrably, either cannot or simply will not learn or acquire those extra skills needed. The All Blacks will lose nothing at all by trying someone else at 13. I mean, if it doesn't work, go back to Rieko. I've seen enough of Proctor to think he absolutely deserves a chance to show that it could be him. Again, everything to gain, nothing to lose by asking the question. Sevu Reece, we learned, is a bona fide Super Rugby legend. Come on down, Sevu. The top try scorer now in the comp with 66, overtaking TJ Perenara. This is an honour you earn from longevity and by excellence. The names on that list are some of the greatest who have ever played professional rugby down this part of the world. Cullen, Nonu, The Bus, Folau, Habana. It's a record that won't be beaten for a very long time. So congrats to Sevu Reece. No one has scored more Super Rugby tries. If the Crusaders were lucky Friday night, and they were, then the Highlanders were equally unlucky. And all season they have been. That was their 10th loss in 13 games. Now, it sounds like a terrible season, and results-wise, yes, it has been. They sit dead last. But 7 of those losses are by 7 points or less, a converted try or less. Interpret it however you like. But for me, it says there's a fair bit of what if only attached to any assessment of their campaign. There has to be. Finally, we learned that the Blues still have fate and the finals in their own hands. A terrible season by their standards. Look, they won it last year. They're not half that team this year. Yet here they are, still outside the 6, and knowing they win at home Saturday afternoon, that's probably going to be enough. Their assignment versus New South Wales looks a hell of a lot easier than Moana, who have to win away the Hurricanes either by 100 points or win with a bonus point. After every miserable loss, after every underachieving moment this year, the Blues can still make the playoffs. And the irony is that so too could New South Wales if they did the unthinkable and themselves won at Eden Park. So into the final round we go, and still a lot riding on almost every game. Super Rugby is back. We've been saying it from the first week of the competition. The round robin this year has been brilliant all season.
Devlin.
Super Rugby rankings after round 15 then. Now do remember that the only real rankings are the ones I'm about to read you, as the points table dictates. The rest of the vibe rankings, how we're feeling it with one round to go. The real rankings. Chiefs, 10-3, 46 points. Crusaders are second, 45 points. Brumbies, 43 points. Then a big gap and a drop to the Hurricanes, 34 points. Reds, 33. Then 6, 7 and 8. You've got Moana Pasifika on 28. They're in 6th at the moment. The Blues are in 7th on 28. New South Wales, 26, giving themselves a lifeline. The Force in 9th on 23. The Drua have got 20 points. They're on 10, and they're ahead of the Highlanders, who have lost 10 games, and they're in 11th spot on 20 points. These are my rankings from the bottom. Number 11, the worst side in the competition, the Force. They have finished their campaign. They lost 5 in a row to finish with. So all of the talk about the Force to start the season, that's where they sit. They are bottom of the table.
Are they worse than the Indura?
New South Wales, who were 11th last week, are in 10th. Their record goes loss, loss, win against the Chiefs, loss, 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 and a last-second fingernail on the ball squeeze.
It's still a win.
Is it?
It's still a win.
Now
a
they
win
come
is
to
a
Eden
win.
Park. Okay.
If that was MP or the Crusaders or anyone else, you would be applauding it, saying, "Hey, a win's a win. That's all that matters."
Come on, New South
But
Wales.
you can't
Come on, New
stand the
South Wales.
Waratahs.
You can't claim that as a win. You can't claim that as a win. Drua are in 9th. I had them 9th last week. They're coming off the bye. They've got one game left away, the Reds. The Highlanders, I had them in 8th last week. They're still 8th. Their last 5 games are loss, 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 loss and loss. They did have a bye in there as well. But their last 3 losses are by 5 points, 4 points, 3 points. And as Tony Johnson pointed out, they were bloody unlucky against the Crusaders. They've been unlucky all year. And I think they're better than those teams. Drua, New South Wales and Force. I back the Highlanders. In a one-off game, if you played it this weekend, they would win that game against any of those teams. Force, New South Wales or Drua. Tell me I'm wrong.
I don't know, because you're playing with a hypothetical there. It's a bit dangerous to sit there and say that. I do think the Highlanders are a good side. They should have won that game on Friday. They more should have won the game against the Hurricanes the previous week. But the Crusaders game, there were 2 or 3 penalties that shouldn't have been given to the Crusaders, including the one at the end that led to the match-winning try. And they missed, I think, 4 penalties a goal, 4
Kickable
shots
too.
a goal, and they also, I'm pretty sure, missed a conversion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, from one end, unlucky with some of the calls. From the other end, you got to make your kicks.
Having said that, you are always a disciple of the points table doesn't lie. The points table doesn't.
No, that's what you say.
Oh, that's what I say. That's
Now,
right.
also, so you've really given it to the Waratahs this year.
Have I? I've just been honest. They're just rubbish. You've been rubbish, mate.
And for good reason, because particularly the back end of the season, their form hasn't been good enough. They beat the Chiefs.
Mate, they turned me into a TikTok meme when that bloody thing about the Chiefs.
I know. Let me finish. Now, they went on, 5 straight losses before beating the Force? Something, I could have the number wrong.
Yeah,
there.
that's right.
The Highlanders have lost how many in a row?
5.
How many, sorry?
After the bye, they've lost 2 after the bye.
No, in a row, they have lost 5, which means they haven't won a game for 6 weeks.
Okay.
So, based on that form, why aren't you putting the Highlanders lower
Because
than the
the
Waratahs?
Highlanders beat New South Wales.
No, they didn't. The Waratahs beat them in round
In
1.
the last second they beat them. You
See, this
can't
is the
claim
problem.
that as a
See,
win.
what you're doing now is you're starting to grade wins, but you're also someone who says, one, the table doesn't lie, the table is the truth. Win's a win.
Okay, this is the
I
one.
mean, if we've got to talk about this, the Crusaders, we should be ridiculing them for that performance
This is
on
the
Friday.
exception that makes the rule. The Highlanders are that exception. Normally I go, the table doesn't lie. The table does lie. The Highlanders are not the worst
I mean,
team
I'm being
on
the
it.
devil's advocate here. I think the Highlanders are a better side, and I think they're quite unlucky.
Because this is how I think it's going to finish. In at 7, I've got Moana Pasifika. They were 6 last week. Okay. What do you do with the loss to the Chiefs? You write it off because they've got one more game to play.
No. You write it off if they lost 34-0 or 40-7. Yeah. If you're giving up 80 points, sorry.
I mean, that's a good opening stand in the
You don't
T20 match,
mark that
85.
off.
Come on, what, 85? But I've got them at 7 because I believe that the top 6, as I'll outline, is how it's going to finish. Okay. I think the Blues are going to beat New South Wales. Because I just don't think that New South Wales are going to come to Eden Park and do something they haven't done for the best part of 20 years. They hardly ever win in New Zealand anyway. And I think the Blues have got enough in them after coming off the bye to suggest that they can win that game at home.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the last time the Waratahs won at Eden Park, I could have this wrong, but I think
You were at school.
I think it was 2009.
You were at
I
school.
think that would have been the last time.
Yeah, it was 2009. You were at school. Okay,
Yeah, I remember the score as well.
And so
27-22.
As terrible
I
a
was
season
at school. Yeah, you're right.
as they've had the Blues, and this doesn't make a great season. If they finish 6th, it's not a great season. But if they finish 7th, it's a disastrous season.
Yeah, well,
okay?
I mean, saying you made the finals at least sounds better than obviously missing
and
the
then
finals.
they can harp on about all their injuries and it was cold and it was wet and the crowd didn't, and they blame the media and do whatever they want. But I mean, at least they've
Such an old man.
At least they've made the top 6. They've got nothing to shout about the Blues.
So,
if it wasn't for New South Wales, I'd be talking about them like you and you.
Hold up. So the Hurricanes were losing at the start of the year. They get their players back. They start winning.
I don't think it was about that.
What was
I think it was just the
What
Hurricanes.
about the Crusaders last year?
The Hurricanes just timed their
Crusaders
run
last
perfectly.
year had a ton of injuries.
Yeah, no one mentioned that.
Missed the. No, we did though. Let's not worry about what other people in the media said or didn't say, but we did, and now they're winning again. So injuries do play a key role.
Reds are at 5. I had them at 5 last week. They've lost their last 2 games, and
They've lost 3 of the last 4.
yeah, more crucially, they're losing the games that they need to win. They needed to beat the Hurricanes to be a legitimate finals contender, and I think they're out.
They are still a contender.
Well, they're either going to go away to the Brumbies or the Crusaders in the first round of the playoffs, right? They're going to play one of those 2 teams away.
Yeah.
They've already lost to the Brumbies twice. They're not coming to Christchurch and winning.
Well, I think they've got a better chance against the Crusaders than the Brumbies.
Canes are at 4. I had them at 3 last week. I've dropped them actually. I've put and this is
Why? Because you think they'll finish behind the Brumbies.
Well, I just think that.
Well, they can't finish any
No,
higher.
they can't finish any higher than 4. So there's no point in me putting them higher up the table anymore because they can't finish higher than 4. I've got the Brumbies and the Crusaders at second equal. And I know that's fence sitting, but I honestly think that match this weekend is 50-50. The Brumbies are coming off a bye, so they're rested. The Crusaders in their last 3 or 4 games have not been convincing.
No.
They haven't. They went to New South Wales and put 48 points on them, but this is the Brumbies in Canberra on a bitch cold night, right? This is a massive game for the Crusaders. If they win it, they finish second, and they've got a chance to get a home, 3 home or 2 home finals.
2 home finals,
Yeah.
and then assuming the Chiefs
we presume the Chiefs are going to go all the way. If they lose it, they then would potentially play the Hurricanes.
They've beaten the Hurricanes twice this year.
Well, good luck again, the way the Hurricanes are playing right now. If you looked at the form of those 2 sides, the Hurricanes are a better side than the Crusaders right now.
Yeah, well,
They've beaten the Chiefs, and that's something the Crusaders haven't been able to do.
Shouldn't the Hurricanes be higher in your rankings then? Because you're all about
they had
vibes
all those
and
injuries
form.
at the start of the
You're
season.
all about vibes and form. Yeah, exactly, which is why they've started winning now.
I said they just timed their run perfectly, did they not?
I agree. The Crusaders have been. If you want to really unpick a lot of the Crusaders' performances this year, they haven't had too many that have been. I hate the idea of an 80-minute performance because there's no such thing.
No, they haven't.
But they haven't really been close. Like they haven't done what the Chiefs did this week and just gone against Moana Pasifika. They haven't had that sort of game. They I think whatever the Highlanders in Dunedin a month or so ago was
43-10.
Similar.
Yeah, that was the
probably
start
the
of
most
this,
complete that we saw.
was.
But even when they beat the Blues at Eden Park and put 40 on them there, it was spurts. It wasn't consistency.
Then they got turned over by Moana at home.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. I got the Brumbies at 2. This is the Brumbies' form. 1 lost, 1-1-1 bye. Now that loss was to the Hurricanes. Okay, then the 3 wins were against other Australian sides. So what they've got to do is do it against the New Zealand side. At home, this coming weekend.
They beat the Blues at Eden Park.
That's right at the beginning of the season. They've got to actually start beating the New Zealand sides now. And this game against the Crusaders on Friday night is going to tell a hell of a lot about how they're going to go in the playoffs. If they lose that game, they're gone. They're backdoor. They're not going to be.
They'll still finish in the top 3 if they lose that game.
But they'd play the Canes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who've already gone to Canberra and beaten them up.
Yeah, okay. Well, we need to sort of pump the brakes and act like the Hurricanes are going to beat every single team in the finals.
Well, you tell me a team that's going to beat them. The Chiefs, they just dealt with them quite comfortably a couple of weeks ago.
Well, based on, I'd lean towards the Chiefs for sure, because if the Chiefs come up against the Hurricanes, they'll play them in Hamilton. I think if the Crusaders are playing the Hurricanes in Christchurch, I'd back the Crusaders. Just.
Hamilton's not a scary place unless it's about 2 a.m. down Victoria Street on Friday night.
Yeah, well,
and you look like you.
Yeah. Well, look like me, or if there's someone who looks like me coming up to you. You don't want someone in Hamilton with a moustache talking to you.
Wanting to make conversation at that time of night,
No. When you're in a town that there's not much to do, and then you got to make things happen, right? So anyway.
Well, I think you get in your car and you go, don't you?
Well, yeah, and you roll the windows up and then you put the kiddie locks on the doors.
I've done a few runners from Hamilton late at night.
If you do the kiddie lock, then you can open it from the outside and not the inside. So actually, Yeah, you can.
Oh, okay. That's something new every day.
Because anyway, not
okay. So these are my
on.
rankings from 11 to 1. Force, New South Wales, Drua, Highlanders, MP, Blues, Reds, Canes, Crusaders, Brumbies, and obviously the Chiefs at number 1.
Well, you're doing it based on how you think they will finish.
Yeah.
So you're then doing it based on what is likely to be the table, as opposed to your usual rules of vibes.
Well,
and
I'm
form.
feeling what's going to happen at the end.
So
of
this entire season of doing the rankings has been pointless. Then, if you decide to just go along with what the table's going to be.
Thank you, Lachlan. Thank you. And that wraps it up, doesn't it? The whole point of this is there is no point. It's pointless. Brilliant.
This is the DSPN.